Now, in this video, which I'm making specifically for the Invention and not putting anywhere else, I'm going to be speaking about a little action that I did today. And this deals with when it comes down to various social media platforms and what they decide to do, and how they decide to set up their platforms. Now, Facebook is where there's so many people, and if you know somebody in your real life, they're probably on Facebook. There's a pretty good chance of this, and I know a lot of people, and I've friended a lot of people on that particular site and app, because it's also an app. But there's one person that after so long, I have finally plucked up the courage to hit the friend button. Now, this person is not like the other people that I have known in my life. This person is a ticket to moon one beyond anyone else, and I mean anyone else, because I have had a history with this person in the past that is similar to the history that the dancers of the ALDC team in Dance Moms have had with Abigail Miller, although that was so much more of a history, and there were more, good, bad, and ugly qualities about Abby that were revealed, and it was more intense. And Abby Lee was more tough. Just all this negative qualities. But I'm going to compare my experience, and I'm going to compare the person that I'm going to be speaking about to Abby, because there's a lot of parallels with both of them. And, it's taken a lot of time, and now it is far less emotional than it was at the time that I was in a relationship with this person. And that was from September of 2014 to May 2015. So that was the window of time. I think that at that time, my progressed moon was moving through Pisces. The progressed moon rules over your lunar phase, your emotional phase, your mood shift of what kind of emotional territory that you're moving into for a certain period of your life. So for the moon, that would be emotions. It would be it's ruling things like mothering qualities, not necessarily just the mother, but any kind of motherly qualities. It rules your intuition. It rules instincts, and so that's sort of what you're navigating and working with for 2.5 years, the same amount of time as Saturn spends in assignments, 2.5 years. And Saturn's very different. It rules discipline, structure, boundaries, limitations. And at the high road, it is not all that mean and restricting and like a parent that just wants to restrict you. You can get empowered by Saturn to look to people such as Mel Robbins and her work, because to me that speaks to the higher octave and how Saturn and Mars can be put in higher in higher light, in a higher view of Saturn and Mars. And her work deals with motivation, getting things done, achieving what you want, tips to better your life, love yourself. That's her work. It's very masculine, and she is very Martian. She has Saturn in Aries, Moon in Aries. She has a lot going on in fire. Mercury in Scorpio. So there's a lot of Martian energy in her natal chart. And yet she is a Libra sun, which would not be immediate. But that just goes to show that you can't take someone by the sun sign. Now, what I am going to do in this video is I'm going to be breaking down a couple of different things, and I may actually use another location to film a part of this video. So, let me just run through sort of the timeline of events of this kind of relationship. The sort of customs that I was seeing and feeling at the time that I first met this person, it was on a Thursday in, I think, August of 2014. And so, what I was getting was I was seeing customs of an Asian woman flying on a plane and preparing Asian cuisine. And I was also watching a Chow Italia episode, and there was this chef that was preparing food in the show because Marian Esposito and Chow Italia, which I was really into at the time. There was an episode where she was showing people how to prepare a certain recipe, and there was one little instance in that show where she was demonstrating something to someone. I think it had to do with making bread or something like that. And, anyway, this person said, I got a glimpse of, spare and sweet or those kind of things. And the thing about customs is that you can take any kind of random word and make a resemblance or a custom or occasion out of it. And that becomes significant. So you want to watch for those little things about people, because the smallest things may be significant, and you may think about that and then associate something, and then that word or image or whatever comes to mind with that person and that kind of relationship. And that view of that person. So that was just sort of how it started. There was sort of a Rhonda-like quality because I knew somebody whose name was Rhonda. She was an associate at the elementary school that I was at, and she was in resemblance to this person, so that was something as well. And overall, it was fairly positive and neutrally positive, and I was kind of 50% looking forward and feeling a pretty good feeling that this particular time period would go positively for me. And, man, was that wrong and not the case. So, here's what I've learned. If somebody changes something about their facial features and expression, the next time you meet them, from the time that you originally meet them, from that first, so let's say you met this person one time and they appear a certain way. Then you meet them another way. Then you meet them, for a second time, and then there's something that they change about themselves, and it can be so small. Then, that's a red flag. The detail that's important to remember here is that when I was at the open house, this person, whose name is Joe Mort, and, it's almost sort of taboo to say her last name. And that last name is very significant, and I'm going to get into why that is so significant. So she decided to change her glasses, or to wear glasses, and I mean, that's not a big deal. And I don't know why I'm equating that with all the stuff I'm going to get into, But I don't know. It's just something, about that. I sort of want to see that same person as I saw them before. And of course, the customs that I was getting in my dreams with, the period custom I was getting, being in this sort of building with the light shining and doors, and it was a big rectangular building. And I know this is sounding random right now. And this is a huge part of the invented, is it is random, and not everything can be explained in clear explanation. Now, that particular day went well, and it was fine, I guess you could say. Something really important to consider is before I even knew this person, I did a whole series of videos on my experience with this person. I filmed those way back a couple of years ago when Mercury was retrograde in Aquarius in 2021. So you can check those videos out, and I go into more depth about what happened in my life. And I'm going to get into some, basic astrology stuff and probably go more in depth. Maybe make this a whole series of videos, I don't even know. And this is for the invented, not for the public. Before knowing this person, I was in relationship with somebody that I really liked, who was my 5th grade teacher, only for the second semester of 4th grade, in the winter and spring of 2014, from January 2014 to May of that year. During that time, Mars was in its retrograde season, either in pre-shadow, retrograde, or post-shadow. And the bulk of that particular semester was when Mars was in retrograde in Libra. That had to do with relating, and it may be harder to keep pace, and there may be more kind of conflicts, and during Mars retrograde, it's a more difficult time to take action, all those kind of things like that. I don't know. I think that would have been profound if I were to knew this person that I'm making this video about in that particular spring, as opposed to spring of 2015, and that's also part of this time period that I'm talking about. And also, Colette Baron Reed did initiate something brand new, which is her oracle readings on her YouTube channel, and that all started during Mars retrograde in Libra. The North Node just entered Libra, and days after Mars went retrograde. And there's a whole level of meaning to that that I think is very interesting. So anyway, going back to this, before knowing her, I was at Fairway, the local Fairway in town, and we happened to come across somebody that I knew. I think her name was Mrs. Crab Elkin. Very interesting name. I came across her, and she was talking about we were chatting, and she brought up the teacher that I would have, whose name is the last syllable of Voldemort. And she was saying how this person is only slightly firm, but very nice, using her words. She was like, this person is slightly firm, but very nice. Well, I think that slightly firm phrase was an understatement from what I experienced. And I certainly, if I was in that situation now, I would definitely be more verbal about it, and maybe extend it to talk about spiritual lessons of this on my YouTube channel. But at the time, life was different for me. And anyway, I wasn't into YouTube and the stuff I am into now. But if I was, I'd do what I'm doing now. But anyway, and so this first particular day, I sort of learned the difference really quickly about what it means to be strict and what it means to just be firm. She was not strict. Although, she wasn't strict in terms of listing out her rules, but sort of along the way, she was strict along the way, but not in terms of the official rules that she had for her classroom. She had the mindset that as fifth graders, because she was a fifth grade teacher, that they would have it figured out, because she used that phrase a lot. Figure it out, it out. Several times. And she also used the phrase, knock it off a lot of the times. And she also used, said, you better be done. You better, do this. She used, and catchphrases is important when it comes to somebody. And, like Abby Lynn Miller says, everyone's replaceable. I wonder, what else that she says that is, sort of, there are catchphrases that she repeats, and that becomes part of who she is, part of, her character as a person. So she used those phrases quite a bit. I remember this very well. I have in my mental files, this is a really strong memory. And I don't remember every day of this transit, I want to say, of this window of time that this was going on. But she had only one rule, and that was, I can remember it very clearly, it was respect yourself. If you respect yourself, you respect others. Of course, in the spiritual community, we're going to take that to a much, greater level. Love yourself for who you are. I mean, even that. And I can tell you that the people who have spoken about self-love are the people that I would, really favor a million times over the person that I'm talking about. And, I can say that with absolute certainty. However, that was her rule. And I'm not sure the whole respect yourself and you will respect others rule got followed all the time. It certainly didn't. She certainly was not the one to blame. She, played a huge part in that whole section of negativity. But also, my peers in the classroom also, misbehaved sometimes, and so those sort of two came together. But, much more so was her and how she was, and how she was very psychologically, emotionally draining and intimidating and scary. So many different things, and that sort of unfolded over a certain amount of time. And I'll show you what she looks like. I wish I could show a video, but I can't. And you're going to see blonde hair, black glasses, wide face. If you've ever seen, Nancy, if you've ever seen Nancy Fuller, Farmhouse Rules, she does resemble her. And there's going to be somebody who will be coming to the Edmonton who was a therapist of mine. Her name is Kim Comer. And she herself was an Aries, born on the 13th of April, and she also resembles her. I found it very shortly that my teacher, who I thought was an Aries, and displaying displaying the dark side of Aries, actually turns out to be a Sagittarius, which is also a fire sign. And we'll get into that more later, and maybe that whole thing. But anyway, it sort of unfolded, just, gradually unfolded.
It's gonna be just a few minutes.
Okay.
Get your drink here.
Okay. So, just the kind of run through of this is that, just the basic kind of summary of this is that I had a friend at the time who was really getting the short end of the stick. He really got, yelled at and got sort of the wrath of this person quite a bit. One thing I'll say about the friend is he has ADHD and other factors combined. But anyway, basically, this is going to be a series of videos. Officially, I filmed those videos, but my R's were not as good as they are now, so maybe I'll refilm and regurgitate that information. But sort of the most important things is that when, I'm going to use her first name, when Joe, the same name as somebody who's really popular on TV, who's very, very different, who is very nurturing and seeks harmony, more than that. I don't want to even go into that. But Joe, this particular person, was very intense, and she would let people know when she was mad and would go on rampage after rampage, and it would be pretty much an elephant stampede that you couldn't that you couldn't ignore. You might as well have, a bull getting mad or some huge creature, because I could compare that to her anger episodes which would occur several times throughout the year, and I can remember a couple of different times specifically. But basically, a lot of the time I was in disempowerment. I was feeling very uncomfortable, very under pressure, very in fear, and not nurtured, and not feeling secure and safe with this person, because I would not know when I was sort of anticipating the next shoe to drop, and anticipating the anger, outrage, reactive, impulsive qualities of that she displayed, and she was very firm and very just that would just that happened, and she didn't scream, but she did yell, and she was very firm, especially when she was very angry. And I'm trying to put this in the most kind of sophisticated way, so that's not colloquial. Anyway, that's it for now.